Hi everyone, my name is Neha, and I am an Intuit therapist, healer, um, and this is Deep Talk. It's our first episode, so we're a little bit nervous. Deep Talk is all about wisdom, insight, inner knowledge, and going deep into life and our own journeys. I'm so happy to have our first episode with Alia Datu. Alia, do you want to say hello?
Hi everyone, it's such an honor, Neha, to be here on your first podcast, and I'm just as nervous, but I think I'm more excited because I can just see and rather foresee great things coming out from this.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, with that, shall we get into it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, Alia, just tell us a little bit about what you do.
That's the most hardest questions I've ever come across because I do a lot, but in a few words, I like to describe myself as an energy alchemist and a metaphysics life coach. Okay. That kind of encompasses everything that I do. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, what is alchemy? I know what energy is. So what's alchemy?
So alchemy in its most simplest form is basically changing form. So it's, if you go back to the years when alchemy was being practiced, people used to use it to transfer ordinary metals like lead into something more precious and more rare like gold. And I work in the same process that I transfer your energy, which is in a very low vibrating state, into something that's very high and that's positive and vibrant and basically brings you everything you need in life.
Okay, so you help to transform energy.
I like to call it the 3 T's, so transform, transcend, and transmute.
Okay. And do you want to tell us about the 3 T's?
The 3 T's.
Very interesting.
So transformation basically is your changing of your state from A to B. So you're going through a transformation where you are no longer what you were before. Transcending is basically you rising above where you are. So your situations, your common, your where you are in life, you transcend those. And to transmute basically means that you change the form, or you change what the your situation is or what you are into a whole different form. So you transmute that into something else. Yeah.
Okay, so transmuting is what's the last one? Transmuting?
It's transmuting, transcending.
So what's transmuting?
Oh, transmuting. Transmuting, I would say, is about it's more about changing the form. So for example, if you have a solid here, you transmute that energy of the solid into something else.
Like a liquid.
Not really like a liquid, that would be transforming. But transmute it it's hard to describe it in English, in very basic English. It's like you're taking the properties of that solid into a whole different state. So you're taking all the good sides about you, for example, and putting that into a whole new you that transmutes into that kind of a thing.
Maybe we'll have to come back to that.
We'll have to, yes, definitely. Okay. We'll have to cut that book.
All right, so you're an energy alchemist, and the second part was
a metaphysical life coach.
Metaphysical life coach. So tell me a little bit about the metaphysical life coach stuff.
So metaphysics, basically, if you break it down, metaphysics basically comes in as your sixth sense, or everything else that does not involve sight, sound, touch, everything else. It goes beyond that. So you could say it works more with the spirit and the ether. And it involves mostly working through that dimension, so transcending from the third to the fifth dimension, and bringing that into like common life, situations, common life problems, stuff like that. Yeah, and you use a lot of different types of modalities. So you have your basic energy healing, you've got your psychic medium intuition, you've got past life regression, you've got tarot. All these kind of tools come in to help you through these processes. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, it's helping you go from where you are to where you want to be, but using these kind of tools.
I prefer to say where you should be.
Okay, where you should be.
Because again, where you want to be might not be where you should be. Most of the time, people end up wanting things that are not really good for them or their highest good. So they tend to keep those ideals or keep those goals that basically are not really for their highest good. So I help them, try go around that and see, okay, fine. Although I want to be, let's say, a stone, let me try and be an obsidian instead. Maybe I should be an obsidian. That's what I'm meant to be. Okay. Yeah.
So can you give me like an example of that, like a real life example?
A real life example, sure. So again, coming back to the third dimension and the fifth dimension. So most of us are used to staying in the third dimension, where we're full of competing against everybody else. We're used to living in the belief systems that we're brought up in. We are put in boxes that you have to be a certain type, be a certain form, be a certain conform to certain systems and beliefs in society, and that actually keeps you from attaining or getting closer to what your ideal soul purpose is. Now, for example, we have people out there who believe that, success is relative to having money, having, assets, having, driving a Ferrari, running a successful business. But that's all on the outside. What's happening on the inner landscape? Are you successful within that? So my job is to help you, tune inwards and understand, are you giving that much attention and time and work and effort to your inner landscape as you are to your outside world? And when that happens, when people start realizing that, okay, fine, I need to heal this about myself, I need to work on this more, they realize their goalposts for the third dimension world actually shifts. That pursuing that money, pursuing that status, pursuing that the career doesn't really matter anymore. It completely shifts.
So you're talking about 3D and 5D.
Yeah.
So I kind of intuitively understand what those are,
Mm-hmm.
and I have my own way of explaining it. But maybe you can explain what you mean when you're talking about 3D and 5D.
So the third dimension is what we all know. It's
Right.
where we're born into. It's what we all know. It's what we grew up in. It's what we probably, exit this world in. The fourth dimension is a scale or a world between the third and the fifth, which basically means that you start having lesser attachment to the worldly life and the worldly things, and you start becoming more and more aware. But some people leave it at that point. They become like, okay, fine, I'm self-aware, I'm self-actualized, I'm self-realized, and that's good enough. But transcending that one level ahead or one level upper means that you are now being able to, give out that, that self-awareness in the form of love, compassion, understanding, and gratitude towards everything and everyone in life. So you rise above and you're in a place where, nothing matters, where people, things don't matter, status don't matter, labels don't matter. You're just coming from a space of love, light, and gratitude.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the way I understand it is 3 dimensions is the physical world.
Yes.
So like time, space, causality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I don't know about the 4th dimension. I always wonder what is the 4th dimension. But like for me, I think like the 5th dimension is now when you are in the 3-dimensional world, but you're now operating from the inner energy.
Yes.
So you're creating not by doing things with the physical world, but you're creating from the space of being, from your vibration. So you're operating from that place. You're
Yeah.
not operating from the 3 dimensions.
A question to ask you on that one is, what is our natural state of vibration? If we were complete and, faultless and coming from the 5th dimension, what would our natural vibration
Love,
be? Exactly.
peace,
There you go.
freedom,
There you go.
awareness, consciousness.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people, we all see things slightly differently, but we're all seeing the same thing, right? Okay, so I'm really interested. So how did you get into all of this? Like what made you become an energy alchemist and a metaphysical life coach?
So my journey started way back. It's been a long time. I actually come from a family of healers, but it's common that you tend to ignore your skills and your gifts because you find them to be weird and unacceptable. And for somebody who's already struggling to be part of society and being accepted, you don't want to take on gifts that will probably put you further out from society. So I never really, practiced or, got into it or, bothered to learn more about it until I myself found myself in the pits of life. And I was like, okay, fine, now where do I go from here? And I feel like, people say spiritual awakenings happen when you're the most lowest part of life. And that really happens because you're forced to be in your present moment. Normally, when you're going through life, you're either living life, coming from the past, worrying about, things that happened, or then worrying about the future, what's going to happen. Rarely do we stay in the present moment. So when you're having a spiritual awakening, as they call it, you're forced to face your reality. And for some people, facing that reality, like they call it the dark night of the soul, is not a very easy thing to do. If you accept and embrace whatever's happening in the present reality and what you're going through, it becomes easier. If you try to fight it and resist, it's going to be hard and tough. I found myself in that space. So I had I was completely at rock bottom or, completely down.
So what were your 3D circumstances
My
like?
3D circumstances was a failed relationship that I was completely codependent on. I was, I'd come back from Australia and had to start from scratch, and being back in the place that I had, initially tried to get away from, and finding myself back there, it was like, oh my God, I'm back in the same place and nothing is working out.
So what do you mean back in the same place?
Same space was the same dynamics that we tend to run away from. The family dynamics. There is work-life, career dynamics. When things don't work out for you because you're not aligned, you're trying to pursue something that you're not made for or meant for, and when it doesn't work out, you're struggling with either, I'm a failure in life, nothing's working out, let me end this shit, and stuff like that. So I was going the same thing. I was like, in a career that I didn't enjoy. I had family dynamics that I wasn't happy with. I was in a marriage that I got into for the wrong reasons completely. Took all that, ran away to Australia, literally ran away to Australia to start afresh. Things didn't work out there. Came back again to the same people, the same environment. I'm like, God, you know what? How am I going to do this again? Now where do I run? And then 2 years later, I found myself again at rock bottom.
So you came back to Kenya, and then what were you doing when you came
Same
back?
thing. Got into a job, got into a relationship again.
And then you found yourself after
In
2
the
years.
same
You
circle.
right back in, right back where you were.
right back where I left from, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And funny enough, at that point, when I just started spiraling downwards, I had met with my first mentor. We were doing online yoga. So for me, I believe that my escape or my personal healing comes from writing. So I had a blog, which was a pseudo blog under my pseudonym, and I used to put everything out there about myself, like my life, my experiences, people, relationships, everything would be out there. And she used to read and comment and put in her 2 cents in there. So that's how we connected. And then I realized that she also teaches yoga, so we went on a online yoga learning spree. And there was this one session that we were having, and she's like, you know what, I want to try something because I can feel that there's something that we're not tapping into. So I had my first meditation session with her, and I don't know how long it lasted. It lasted pretty long, but when I came out of that, I was shocked. I was traumatized. I was like, what the hell was that? Because I saw things from my past life. I don't know what she did, but I saw things from my past life, and I realized that that I had been who I am right now. I had been that all my life, in my past as well. Somebody who is not here to take from the world, but to give to the world, in terms of healing, in terms of coaching, whatever you want to call it. And
So you saw your past life.
I saw my past
and
life.
what was that?
It was basically, I was a healer in that. It's very brief, but I saw that I was a healer in that too, of probably a different nature. I was crucified as well. So my life ended for me, pursuing my passion and doing what I was doing. And that was pretty scary, because seeing yourself die, like nobody sees that every day. It's not a common thing you see, but when you see that whole thing, and then seeing myself reborn again in a state that has, it's complete light, and I'm trying to find that light all my life, that inner peace. I'm trying to find it in relationships. I'm trying to find it in a career. I'm trying to find it in, dynamics around you. But it wasn't happening. So when I came out of that, I was like in a state of shock. Now, she did not tell me before that she's also an intuitive healer. So she actually saw everything that I saw, and she knew that there was something more behind. And she's like, you know what? You're hiding behind, you're hiding what you're meant to be. And I told her, you know what? We have this in our family. Our family is a healer. My mom, everybody. She's like, why are you not accepting your soul purpose? Why are you running away from it? And I said, because it's weird. Like, how would people react to me sitting here and telling them, oh, you know what? I can tell you this about you, or I can see this about you. Or I think you should do this about yourself. It'd be weird, completely weird. And she's like, that's how you have been presented your package. There's a different way of looking at everything. A box has 8 sides, or 6 sides, sorry, a cube has 6 sides. Look at it in 6 different ways. So I started mentoring under her, and that she brought out all my inner skills and, all my healing abilities, and the fact that I was, I don't like to use the word psychic, but let's say intuitive. I could feel people's, and that was something I used to battle with all my life, because I could feel people's energies. I was a very withdrawn child. Like, I would hate being in crowds. My mom would force me, like, you know what, socialize, go out, keep friends. I couldn't hack that, Neha. I was a loner all my life, and I didn't understand why. That already was weird for me. Like, why aren't I able to enjoy social settings like other people are? Why do I prefer to stay home on Friday nights as a teenager, as an 18-year-old, staying at home, with books or with, music and stuff, rather than going out there, meeting people, having fun, having stories to tell on Monday when you're back in school? I was already battling that identity crisis. Like, why aren't I like the rest? Why am I different? And that's when it all started making sense that, it's because I am this empath. I am this, I am a sponge for energy. I happen to, understand people's energies and take it in. And I didn't know how to manage all that. That's why everything came crashing down. So she started teaching me, like, okay, fine. As an empath, this is what you have to do. As a sponge or an intuitive, this is how you have to do. And then the funny thing was, when I began, opening up my, my 6 senses, I would be sitting in a space like this, and I would pick up everything around me. So I'd be able to pick up the energies, the past, present souls. It was just too much for me. So again, I withdrew and went back in my cave. I'm like, I can't handle this, because when I'm out here with somebody, Neha's ancestors are all out there, and I'm like, oh my god, that noise in my head, the talking, I can see stuff, I can feel stuff. I didn't know how to manage all that.
It was scary.
It was scary because, again, I was, I always, for me, my biggest challenge in life was to fit into the crowd. And that's not what we're meant to do. We're not meant to fit in. It took me a very long time to realize I never belonged to any of the boxes that I was trying to put myself in. And because I was trying so hard to get into a box, I kept on crashing, kept on not fitting in a box, kept on frustrating myself, and eventually coming to this point of like, you know what? I don't know what to do anymore. I don't fit anywhere. So yeah, and went back into my cave, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't walk down this path because it's too much. It's too much to handle already. But and then the interesting thing was, Neha, the more now that I realized and opened up myself to this, the more now I try to hide from it, the more it would follow me. The more it would be there in my face. The more it was like, you know what? You're not turning back from this. You're not running away from this.
Like, for example?
So one of the biggest lessons I have to say that kept on repeating itself was in the kind of people I kept on meeting, because I was just not willing to detach myself, and work on me in my inner landscape. I kept on throwing myself out there, hoping that somebody would find and define who I am, which wasn't the case, because I like to call myself, as you know, somebody told me, you're a multi-potentialite, you're just too much of everything. So falling back in the same circles, the same situations, you keep finding yourself coming back, and the lesson is waiting for you right there when you've made a full circle.
So what was the lesson? So what was the circumstance that
so the
showed
circumstance, like, it kept on appearing in everything, in relationships, it kept appearing in my jobs. I had to quit working for corporates because I couldn't align to their corporate values anymore. I ended up losing out, on good careers. It's not a loss though, but yeah, back then it was losing out on, good paying careers because I just couldn't align with their values. That changed for me. Then the kind of people started falling away, or rather I started moving away from people because, again, I couldn't align with them. I started seeing, like, something isn't making sense with them. Something isn't right with them. Their story isn't making sense. Let go of that again. And it was a constant battle between, again, I was right in the middle now. You could say I was in the fourth dimension where I wanted to fit in. I decided to find, a niche where I could fit in and be with people and be accepted. And then this thing now was happening in my life. So I didn't want to step away from what I'd found. I'd found, like, people who were accepting, who were like, I could be with them. And then now suddenly I had to, like, give this up for this. So it was a battle within. And I'm like, like, where do I stand? What do I do? At the same time, being in the middle ground meant, having all these energies, having all these impressions. I like to call them impressions. It makes it less scary and obvious. All this, this change is happening internally to deal with, to battle with, to come to terms with. But I had a very good mentor, and she held my hand through everything. She wasn't like, when she had to be tough, she was tough on me. She's like, you know what, you have to undo all your, get off that belief system. Why do you want to be stuck to people? Why do you want this in your life? Understand the whys behind it. I remember there was this session we had. It went on for 3 hours, and it continued for 3 days, because she's like, you're not letting go. You're not opening up. You're still holding on to things that you're not meant to hold on to. And then when I started stepping into my power, that's when I realized, okay, fine. I started finding the peace. I started finding the sense of belonging. I started finding myself.
Did you start finding some friends that you felt more belonging in terms of belonging, or?
I did find a few aligned people, yes, but then again, I was not attached to them. So when they would come and leave, I would let them leave in peace. Not like, oh my God, don't leave me. I have no one else but you. I have no one else but you. Just let them go and make room for somebody else to come along. And then as I progressed, and then I found my second mentor, who then took me through my second journey and developed more of my intuitive skills and healing skills. That's now when I started opening up to communities like ours.
So how long was this over? What period?
You could say this was way back from 2012.
2012 until today.
Till today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're in 2021. Wow. Okay.
Almost 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been doing this exploring this within
myself, and then actually started practicing. I mean, I've been doing this behind closed doors until 2019. Then when COVID happened in 2020, I was...
So, well, let's go back a little bit. So your second mentor, she came. And she was helping you develop your skills now.
So we stood together. So I apprentice under her every year. We go through an apprenticeship. And she's now taking me, much more ahead, like you could say, in my abilities and my gifts and talents. Yeah. So I started practicing in 2020. I came out of my cave in 2020 when
So
everything
you
that
cave, I
happened.
know you were working under a pseudonym before.
I was working under a pseudonym. Nobody knew what I was doing because it was only known to family and
So,
friends.
for anybody who doesn't know Alia used to run entire workshops and courses
Yeah.
by typing on WhatsApp, so nobody would know who she was.
Exactly.
Like an
Honestly.
entire course and workshop, typing on WhatsApp groups. It was honestly, I was amazed when I saw your
Were
WhatsApp.
you on them? You were there?
No, you showed me
shared,
them.
yes,
you showed
I
me when we
did,
met.
yeah.
Yeah, you showed me, and I was like, how do you instruct a class and a course
On WhatsApp.
on WhatsApp? First of all, just using text.
Just using text.
Yeah.
And
So you were very uncomfortable, right?
I was very uncomfortable coming out, literally very uncomfortable.
Why?
Again, because
Why?
again,
Why were you
all
uncomfortable?
those, I would say, all those premeditated, assumptions about people like us were still with me. And then coming out and, what would my friends think? What would my family, people think about me, people who know me but don't know I do this kind of stuff. What would they think about me? Would they again judge me, leave me, abandon me, stuff like that? So I kept it really, really, really behind closed doors. And I want to say, if anybody of those text people are watching, thank you so much for being there and encouraging that. You know what? Because sitting there and reading about this stuff is not easy. Like, how would you even read all that? Like, do this and all this and all that. But people were, and they were engaging. And the fact that people were, being impacted by these is what gave me the encouragement. I remember I was doing a breathwork session, teaching people how to breathe, properly, because in times of anxiety and times of stress, your breath actually is the most powerful tool that you have. So I was running a breathwork workshop on WhatsApp, and I had recorded a small recording on holotropic breathing. And a lady came back to me and said, "You know what? I have a son, and he joined me for this meditation. He's only 8 years old, and I think he had a problem with one of his eyes. He couldn't see from his left eye." But during that meditation, he came back and told his mother, "Mom, I could see blue light in my eye." And I was like, wow, if this can be so profound and so helpful to people, then why am I keeping it behind closed doors? It needs to be out there, helping as many people as it can.
So then you came out, let's say.
I came out
to the world.
I came out to the world, but I think I came out too strong to the world because then I got attacked again.
So this was in 2020. So this was COVID.
It was COVID time. And I went back in my shell again, but I'm like, you know what?
So what do you mean? What do you mean? You got?
So people in our industry, or like in our community, I like to call it more than an industry, don't really have. We're either born with these skills or we acquire them, right? One of the two. And there's no set way of saying that I practice this way and this is how you should practice everything else. Like there are energy healers out there who use modalities that even I haven't heard of to heal people, and it's absolutely okay. I believe your biggest, what's the word? Not degree, but your biggest qualification should be your intention behind the work that you do. It doesn't matter what degree you have, who has taught you, where do you learn this stuff from. I don't have a degree. Well, I have one now because I say, you know what, fine, let me put everything down on paper and get a degree or a PhD. But I didn't have people certificates to prove I've learned energy healing. I've learned how to work with chakras. I've learned how to go into past lives. I've learned how to read people's energies. I don't have that on paper. It was in me and it was brought out, and it was more harder managing it than learning about it. So again, I had people come and say, you know what, who taught you and how can you and why, and this and the other, and again I receded back into my shell. But then I'm like, you know what, I am what I am, and I'm here to do what I'm meant to do over here. So yeah, and that's what's been my driving force since Silver Moon Mystic came out officially.
When did it come out? When did Silver Moon?
It came out late in 2020. In
so
October.
Silver Moon Mystic is your brand, right?
It was my pseudonym, but now it's become my brainchild.
It was your pseudonym,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, nobody knew me with that name. That was me behind that. But now I'm the face behind that name. Yeah.
Now you're the face
and
of.
I proudly say it.
Not
yes.
behind, you're the face
of. Yes. So.
Yeah, I like seriously, the face of Silver Moon Mystic.
The face of Silver Moon Mystic. Yeah.
Okay, so you started doing that work in 2020. So why do you do it? Why do you love it? What do you experience when you're doing this? So when you're doing an energy healing for somebody, right? What does it make you feel? How do you experience it?
It makes me feel, I can't say I feel anything, but I know that I'm, fulfilling my prophecy and my legacy and my purpose.
And how do you know it?
I know it because when I see the person coming out of that session changed, when they have that aha moment in them, when they say, oh my God, I've been doing life wrong all this time, I need to change certain things. That awakening they have, small as it may be, it tells me, you know what, changed, I've touched, I've impacted someone's life and then set them on their path of their own self-discovery. I feel like my job is to bring about self-awareness in whichever form it can, so people can awaken to their true lights and their true magic. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And do you think, I mean, for me, I really feel like everybody has these capacities and abilities to understand energy, to intuit. So, but do you feel like there are people who are healers and there are people who are not healers? Do you feel, how do you see all of this?
So I believe everybody is a healer.
Right.
It's not something that people have made it sound something so like it's so prime and so proprietary that only certain people have this gift. Oh my God! When I go into a session, I go into this session with the intention that let this person discover their own inner healing. I don't try and encourage people to keep on coming back to me every time. I would not like that for them to be dependent on me. So when I leave, when I teach them, or when I do their healing for them, I teach them the little tools that they could manage at the time, and tell them, what, do this, do that, continue doing this, continue doing that, change this, whatever. Everybody has the capability, but we're so filtered, we're so veiled, we're so behind, all these masks, like I said, of belief, society, culture, traditions, etc., that we're just not able to let our true inner selves come out.
So, do you have a technique or something that you could share with everybody here that people could all maybe practice? Something very easy that anybody can do.
Something very easy that anybody could do is just look for 5 minutes in their day, find a place without their phones, without distractions, without anything, and just sit with themselves, just for 5 minutes. And let whatever it is, whatever thoughts about yourself, whatever beliefs about yourself come up, let them come up. Most people tend to suppress that. And having thoughts like, I'm a failure, I'm ugly, I don't deserve this, I'm a mess. These are cues. They're actually cues for you to dig deeper and say, why do you feel like you're a failure? Why do you think like you're failing? You go back one step and you say, oh, you know what? I missed my targets. I didn't get a promotion. Neha got a promotion. She won, I failed. Okay, fine. Go deeper into that and say, fine, why are you comparing yourself to Neha? Where's the comparison coming from? Where is this need to be successful and rise to the top coming from? Are you trying to please somebody? Are you trying to gain approval from somebody? And just by doing that exercise, you will understand why you do the things you do and why you find yourself in those sticky situations that you are in. Yeah.
Okay, so just to sit 5 minutes.
5 minutes in a day.
And just sit with yourself.
Yeah.
And just allow whatever comes up to come up. And when it comes up, then you should go into the inquiry.
Yes.
So you go and question why.
Question why. Don't suppress it. Just let it come up.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's nice for everybody to try.
You're welcome. That's the most simplest thing I think people can do.
Yeah. So, what's your dream then? So you're here. You've come from 2012 to 2021 now. So what's your dream? Do you have a dream?
I have a vision.
Okay.
I have a vision, and my vision would be to change as many lives as I can. I want to be the next. What can I say? I really enjoy the work of Caroline Mice. She's amazing. Put that together, changing people, impact, just basically having a vision would be having so many people transformed just by meeting them for even as little as 5 minutes, bringing that difference in their life.
So you want to reach a lot of people.
I want to reach a lot of people.
So you want to be internationally, working internationally, or?
If that's meant to be, yes, that would also be welcomed. But starting just where I am at home, just bringing people out of their shells, their boxes.
And let's talk about your own journey, because we're all on our own inner journey. Where are you in your own journey?
I'm at a stage in my journey where I'm being forced, coming back, going way back to where I was in life, wanting to be accepted, being, part of something or part of, someone's life, you could say. That has always been my, my black monkey, if you want to call it that, or something I've always aspired to have. And that has been my focal point in life. So everything that I do falls secondary, but everything that I want in life is to be part of something. But of late, as I've been progressing and going deeper,
belonging. This theme of belonging is important.
Exactly. It's come up for me in many situations and many times in my life. But the more I progress and go deeper into my energy work and stuff, there have always been situations where I've been asked to make a choice. Do you want to fight for that belonging, the sense of belonging, or do you want to continue and remain true on this path and see where this leads you? And I think last year this year in January, I made a decision. I told myself that no matter what, I'm going to always choose this path. No matter what circumstances come, no matter what people come into my life, the choice will always be to remain true on my path. It's been hard because, sometimes you're in a relationship with somebody and it's not working out, and you find that, oh my God, I finally found my sense of belonging. Now what do I do? Do I leave that sense of belonging and all that it has with it and focus on this and trust the process here? But I promise, it's like I've taken an oath with the universe. You know what? I'm gonna back you. Like, I'm gonna be with this and do this work and continue on this, no matter what life throws at me. I'm gonna stay true to this.
Is it hard sometimes?
It's hard sometimes. You have sleepless nights. You cry. Yes, I cry. You feel like ending the world because you're like, why do I have to make these choices? Why is life so difficult? Why can't it be simple? Why can't everything be given to us
on
in
a plate?
platter? Why do you have to choose? This for that. But I guess in choosing also you realize where your priorities, where your actual innate, desire lies. So even choices has a power behind it.
So what do you do when you're in total fear and mistrust and panic, or or those kind of situations? What
This
do
is
you
where
do?
the 5 minutes come in handy.
Yeah. So
Those
you just
5
sit.
minutes,
You
just
just
sit, and you're
sit.
like, okay, fine. Talk to me. Talk to me and tell me, where do I need to go? Yeah.
Okay, so you just sit with it.
Sit with it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's longer than 5 minutes. So.
It's longer than 5 minutes. It's longer than a day. It takes a while, and then then that's why you have to really be open to whatever comes then, because if you want to call it divine intervention, divine messages come through to you, and then you start toying with those, or like debating on those, again you're missing the point. Again you're going back in the same circle. Yeah.
So so you're in at a point where it's hard still. It's not easy.
It's hard.
But
still.
you're choosing to trust this, the work of the healing.
Yeah.
Over anything else.
Over anything else. For example, this itself is a choice.
Yeah.
Do I want to be out there? People now know everything about me. They know who I am. They know my story. They know my journey. They know Alia. But do I want to keep hiding behind and working behind closed doors and just being in that, closed environment where nobody will know who I am and not bother me? Or do I want to step out and start, probably use this as a platform to get, more people impacted and, changed and, aware. So yeah, it's not easy also, but making that choice also is, had to be done.
Yeah. So and I know you're part of a community here, right? So you're from a particular community?
Yes, I am from a particular community. People found it very, very, very interesting and quite awkward that somebody with a hijab would do this kind of work. And of course there are taboos, there are certain, restrictions, boundaries, call it what you want, about the kind of work that we do. But I always ask, that, keep me on, on the right path. And what is the right path? Nobody knows what the right path is, but as long as it feels right, as long as it doesn't feel like, you are, damaging or destroying whatever is there in the first place, just follow through.
Have you had any backlash from your community, or have you had a lot of support from your community, or just no kind of, how has it been?
Well, I'm about to find out.
Okay, yeah, true. That's true. So we're gonna see.
We're gonna
be
see.
Nice. Communities is all about love, isn't it? Be nice, be supportive. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So you wear the hijab, you are a Muslim, right?
Right.
So how does this kind of work sit with the energy healing and the chakras and source energy and all of that? How do they, how do you, are they compatible? I mean, I have my own beliefs around that, but for you, are they compatible? Are they incompatible? Are there contradictions? Do you feel torn? Do you feel in harmony? How do you feel about it all?
I feel all the above at times, but the key thing is differentiating and finding that fine line that differs religion and spirituality. Because when you follow religion has changed into, a power system nowadays. People have to follow certain rules. You have to follow certain, criteria, certain, just conform to stuff that people have set out for you. Whereas spirituality was something that everybody practiced back in the day. Spirituality came before religion did. And I feel I'm actually going back to the source of things, how they naturally were, rather than, conforming to things that man has made.
But, okay, So that's, I mean, I feel very similar. So I feel that religion is the same thing as spirituality for me. It's just that it became institutionalized and it was controlled, and also it was kind of misunderstood and curated in a very, in a not spiritual way, right?
Right.
But underneath it, if you take off the layers, I think it's like gold there is gold in
There is
in all
gold in it.
religion,
There is
right? So
gold, yes.
that's how I feel. So I just take the gold and I don't worry about
But
the
that is
rest.
exactly, yeah.
And I take from, personally, I take from all the religions.
Personally, I do
Although
too.
I have an affinity with my tradition, or my mother's tradition, which is the Vedic tradition, the Hindu
The Hindu
tradition.
tradition, right.
But I take from all, and I also teach from all, right? But can you tell me of an example of where your gold and the gold that you've seen in your religion?
So the goal that I've probably experienced, and I have to say this, I'm not somebody who's very close knit to my community. I've always been aloof. I've always been away. I'm working for the community school right now, and that's been my way of giving back to the community. I still see a lot of things in that community or in that environment that, make me cringe sometimes. I think, like, if only people would step away from this and, start, looking at things from a different lens. But I do find that there's this, religion tends to tie people together. It provides a safe space for you. You already have a natural sense of belonging once you belong to a religion, because you have, those people who at least have something in common with you, not everything. So it does give you that sense of belonging. I do know that tomorrow, if I do have a problem or I do face a certain, situation in life, and if I call for help, I will have my religious community there for me, to stand for me. So that's one thing that I can say that I have found, that's gold in the community or in the religion. Yeah.
So the concept of
The
community.
concept of community.
And what about in the actual religious tradition? So in the texts, in the teachings, could you tell me some of the favorite or the most impactful teachings of Islam or even just one that really, really you feel?
So Islam, behind everything, or if you really go to the depths and the essence of Islam, is actually in all truth a religion of peace. Its practices, its teachings, the examples the prophets have set for everybody. And one of the most important examples that the prophets had set is one of tolerance, which is something that's lacking in the world today. And that's why we have all this war and hatred towards everybody else. And I find that, like, for example, when you wake up, when you go back and you see that nowadays when you have people practice spirituality, it is recommended wake up in the night, the midst of the night, or, like, early morning, and meditate. Islam already has that there, that you wake up in the morning and say your morning prayers. Islam also has waking up before the morning prayers and still, practicing your prayers or meditation, whatever it is you want to do. So it's all already there. The texts also tell you something very basic in life, that, enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And it's also gone ahead and defined evil as being something that hurts people, that, causes, bitterment and, discomfort and, problems in people. Avoiding all that, which is what actually, spirituality and whatever we're practicing now teaches us. Staying away from trouble, not engaging in people's businesses, minding your own, living very simple and peaceful lives. So it's all there. And then the examples set by the prophets: tolerance, all accepting everybody, not judging between race, creed, religion, tribe, accepting everybody as, one. It's all there, and anything, all texts have that. All,
Yes,
spiritual
they
texts
do.
have that. They all do that.
But I think Islam emphasizes the peace.
The peace.
Christianity emphasizes the love.
Yes.
And I think the Vedic tradition emphasizes the truth.
The truth.
Yeah. And the Jewish tradition, for me, emphasizes wisdom.
Wisdom. Yeah.
So I find they're
all
just a
something,
different
yeah.
aspect of
And
God.
they all come together.
I also think, for me, Islam is the poetry of God, you know?
Wow, that's beautifully said.
Yeah, because it's very poetic, even in the way they sing the text.
They recite the text.
They recite the text, it's a song.
It is. It comes out in a very flowy way. The two things came to mind just now, and I'm sorry if I have the facts wrong here, because my, like I said, I'm not that religious of a person. But we believe that we've had over 100,000 prophets back in the time. And if you actually go back in time, the Buddha, we've had, like, for example, Lord Krishna example, they have all fallen in that category of the prophets that have come before and tried to, like, teach and prophesize and, change people. Again, something else I listened today in the morning, there was a lady who was, she's a constellation worker. She's a Hindu, but her son's a Hindu, married to a Muslim, and their granddaughter wants to become a Christian. So there's been a lot of backlash in the house, like, you have to follow, one or the other. And the grandmother realized that, what, she's trying to find her own identity, because whether she conform to Hinduism, Islam, whether she becomes. So she's chosen to go to Christianity to find her identity. So she said, I told my granddaughter this, that, you don't need to be religious. Just be spiritual and be a good human being.
Yeah, and I think we're going more and more, like, I think a lot of people are finding that the institutions of religion are no longer as relevant as they used to be. And so they're turning to what we call spirituality, which is to me the essence of religion, right? They're turning more, so it's basically the teachings of the religion, but without the tradition.
Yes.
Right? And so they're turning more and more.
More than tradition, I'd say the culture.
And the culture, for sure. And so people are turning more and more to spirituality rather than religion. And like I said, for me, I just see that spirituality is within. So I just look for within, because I also find the traditions and the culture so beautiful.
They are. I mean, they really are. Like, I conform to all religions. I wouldn't say that I am a Muslim. Yes, I practice Islam. I fast. I pray.
Oh, so you do the 5 pillars.
I do the 5. Well,
as best you can. As best you can. Let's just leave it like that.
I pray 5 times a day, definitely. I do my fast, yes. I pray, do my charities and stuff, yes. But I also believe that, like, for example, I went to a Catholic school and I was baptized. I've received the Holy Communion. I've been to Hindu temples, was raised without a father. And I've never known the concept of a dad. So I wouldn't know how it is to, relate to a father figure in life. Which is where the mess starts from, but it's fine, I've processed that now. So I remember that when we had our Bible study sessions in school, we used to have, there was this one particular session that we learned and I've never forgotten that. It was the King James Bible that we used to have in school. And we were learning about the church and how, God is like the Father. And there's this image, there's this picture that's drawn. It's a stick figure of God with his arms stretched out, and, you've got the world that he's, hugging. And for me, I found my Father. And I always believe that God, for me, like I personify him as my father. Yeah.
I always see him as, he looks a bit like Santa Claus, but he's dressed differently. I don't know why. For me, he's just a white guy with a beard. For a lot of people, it's like that, when you personify God, right? And he's male.
Which is interesting again.
Which is also interesting. I mean, it's just how we've grown up, right? And I think it's fine. I think I've just come to terms with, you can just personify God any way you want.
As long as you acknowledge that there is a higher power above.
Yeah. So, my last question for you is, if there's one piece of wisdom with you that you're really focusing on right now, because we all focus on different pieces of wisdom at different times, what is it?
Detachment.
Detachment.
Detachment. And I find that it's very hard. It's not easy to detach, especially when things come to you at a very high price. You've invested a lot of, blood, sweat, tears, emotions and things, and then suddenly they don't work out, or they fall apart and stuff. You become, obviously, you're attached to that thing. But when you have to learn to detach yourself from everything in life, so you don't get consumed, when it's focusing on that or being, dragged emotionally into that situation, and you're able to now focus on what you're meant to be doing. So I think detachment is very important. Earlier it used to be discerning, where your energy needs to go. But I think what's come up for me recently is detaching. Detaching from what I just mentioned, detaching from, work, for instance, detaching from meeting, deadlines, detaching from worrying about, where the next, source of income is going to come from. Just detaching from all these things. When you detach, you create a space. Because attachment comes with all these worries, it comes with all this, it pulls you down, basically. If things don't work out the way they're meant to work out, the way you think you're supposed to work out, you fall in this trap of, anger, frustration, despair, etc. And that already is negative energy. That already is taking away so much of your energy. So when you detach, it doesn't matter how things go, as long as you believe, fine, it's working out for the better of me, and you're able to focusing on moving forward and where you're meant to go. Yeah. So detachment.
That's what you're really playing with right now. Yeah, wonderful. So we have a bunch of stuff here.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you're called to show us any of these things or to use any of these things.
So,
what do you, if you feel called by any of these?
By any of these.
We have tarot, and we have crystals, right? And I know you work with both.
I work with both. Yes, right. I do work with both. So somehow the crystals are calling on to me. I think I just need to, like, release and just put this in my, hold this in my hand. It's a beautiful piece of salt rock, I think,
Yeah,
right?
rock salt.
Rock
Yeah,
salt,
it is.
yeah. That's calling to me. So I'd like to hold this as I reach out for a message for all of us here today.
Okay.
And just pull out a card and just see what it says. Yeah, I'd like you to read that for me. What does it say?
Playfulness.
Playfulness. And what does that tell you?
So for me, I see dance, I see letting go, I see detachment, I see just reveling in our own kind of spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me, because I mean, for me it's been a rough couple of weeks with so much happening, and I've found myself to be sucked into the system again,
Yes,
right?
me too.
So just letting go and just letting things take their own flow and their own course, and just enjoying the moment.
And enjoying the moment and
Yeah,
enjoying.
enjoying the
And I've
moment.
really enjoyed this time with you.
Likewise, Neha, it's been amazing. I mean,
Is there anything you want to tell people? Anything that really you'd like to say?
I'd like to say that there's a lot more to you than defines you in terms of your jobs, your social status, the kind of work that you do, the kind of person that you are. There's a lot more than that. And I feel like it's your job to owe it to yourself to actually dig deeper and find out exactly what that is.
And for anybody who wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
I can share my social handles. You can find me on Instagram as the Silver Moon Mystic, on Facebook with the same name. You can also find me as Alia Datu on Instagram and Facebook with the same. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been such a nice morning.
It has.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll be connecting more and again.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Thank you.